The world's getting sick, we all know it, and there's a whole bunch of weak men that are just living their life aimlessly. They're drifters. In this video, I'm going to show you how to reclaim your personal power, how to orchestrate your life. But to do this, we need to learn about drifters, we need to learn about the law of hypnotic rhythm, and we need to have a consultation session with the devil. So before you start thinking that Isaac has sold his soul to the devil, he's sold his soul to the Illuminati, he's going to be twerking on the devil like Lil Nas X, oh hell no, doing satanic rituals and all that, that's not what this is about. I recently read a book, well, reread a book by Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich. Now this book is called Outwitting the Devil. It was written in 1938. It wasn't released until 2011 because Hill's family thought it was just too scandalous, too crazy, that if they released the book, they'll all get crucified or something. So they kept the manuscript hidden for years and years and years. Only in 2011 it came out when, the Napoleon Hill Foundation said, yeah, let's do this thing. We gotta make this money, let's do this thing, let's release this thing. So the reason this book was so controversial was because Napoleon Hill in it claims to have had a conversation with the devil, right? The guy with the horns. He claims to have had a conversation with the devil. And I'm not sure if he was talking to the real devil or if he was tripping on shrooms, LSD, ayahuasca, if they had it back then in New York, or in a lucid dream or whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is the contents of the book. And it's quite crazy. It's quite insane, to be honest with you, because when I read it, there were so many things that Hill said, well, the devil said to Hill, that later were proven to be true, and Hill could not have known about these things. For example, he predicted that cigarettes were bad for people well before any scientific data and research came out. He predicts the Second World War before it happened, because this was written in 1938. And he also predicts that the early childhood years are the most important when it comes to reprogramming your mind and how kids are super receptive, which now psychologists are finding all the time with this mirror neuron stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff he predicts in there. He talks about propaganda well before Edward Bernays talked about propaganda and how the political system and society works in such a complex way to make people sheep. Let's dive into it, because I really want you to know some of these things that he talks about. So the number one concept is that of the drifter. A drifter is basically someone who has no aim in life, someone who cannot think for themselves, who doesn't have any ounce of independent thinking, and is more in reaction than action when it comes to life. Now here's a quote that the devil said to Napoleon Hill in the book. Life pays the drifter its own price on its own terms. The non-drifter makes life pay on his own terms. What that basically means is that drifters have no control of their life. Like, whatever life wants to give them, that's what they're going to get, because they have no control and they feel like they're a victim. They feel like they're a leaf in the ocean and the waves are just carrying them. If this was a game of chess, they would be the pawn, the one that is ready to get sacrificed whenever the game player needs him to get sacrificed. The devil says 98 out of every 100 people on planet Earth are drifters. 98 out of every 100 people on planet Earth are sheep. 2% are the leaders. And when you think of leaders, we're talking about men, not just people like Elon Musk. That's like a good archetype of someone who's got a definite purpose, who's just making moves and really shaking up the world. I'm talking about maybe leaders in your community, people that are in the upper ladders of your work, entrepreneurs, people that really create social change. Most people don't create change. Most people don't create value. Most people are just sheep. So how does this drifting habit begin? Napoleon Hill, well, actually the devil allegedly tells Napoleon Hill that one of the best places for the drifting habit to start is through the education system, because kids are not taught to have any independent thinking, right? We've all been to school. We spent a lot of time there. I don't know about you, but there wasn't even one class where the teacher sat down with you and said, hey, look, what do you want to do with life? What are your skills? What are you passionate about? What are you interested in? How can we best use you, or how can you best use your skill set to be of value to the world and also to prosper in your own life and goals and whatever you want to achieve? That doesn't happen. Instead, what happens, we pick up a bunch of random subjects, geometry or mathematics, geography, history. We pick up a bunch of random subjects that most of the time no one ever uses. So this drifting habit starts there because we're taught that life is not about having a definite purpose. Life is not about thinking about what you want and going after it. Life is just about doing whatever and just kind of going with the wind and seeing what happens. It's the essence of the schooling system. It's deeply rooted in the school system. So much time is wasted. So much time is spent drifting. So people grow up, they get out of the schooling system, they go to the workforce. And once again, they're told what to do, right? Yo, go do this, do that. Don't think. Take a holiday this time. Put your hand up if you want to use the toilet and take a shit. People don't develop independent thinking. And it's really highlighted right now during this pandemic. A lot of people clearly are sheep. They don't do any research. They've never done any research, and they're willing to just, follow whatever the government tells them to do because the government probably knows better than they do. That's what they're thinking. That's what they were taught ever since they were young. They were taught to drift. They're going to work themselves to the bone, like really go at it in hopes of retiring at age 65. That's drifting behavior, right? Not looking at any other alternative. Being a victim of life, being reactive to life and not having a purpose, not making life react to you. And that's very dangerous territory. And the second big idea in the book is this idea of the law of hypnotic rhythm. So we've all learned how to do something new, whether it was playing a musical instrument, whether that's the piano or guitar, whether it was riding a bike, driving a car. The process is always the same. You start off using a lot of willpower, a lot of your mental resources. It's tough. It's annoying at times, and you just have to stick with it and persist, having no idea what the hell you're doing, to it being a no-brainer, and you're just doing it automatically. Most people think about habits in terms of physical habits, things you do with your body, but people don't understand that just as easily as you can develop a physical habit, you can develop mental habits, habits of worrying, habits of getting angry, habits of getting anxious, habits of not thinking for yourself. These are all the habits of a drifter. I'm sure you've talked to an old person or someone who's very stuck in their ways, right? This tends to happen with a lot of religious people as well, that are very fundamentalist. It doesn't matter what you bring to them, what evidence you bring to them, or what viewpoints you can show them that support your argument. They're not going to listen. They're going to get stuck. They're going to stay stuck in their viewpoint, their tunnel vision, because of confirmation bias, which has allowed them to see more of what they've been seeing for years and years and years and years while omitting any other viewpoint, right? They're at the point of no return. They're stuck in their ways. Or when you see someone who's like a drug addict and they just keep going back to drugs and there's nothing they can do. Sadly, recently DMX died. He was a great rapper, but he could never get off the drugs regardless of rehab and stuff. Napoleon Hill calls this the law of hypnotic rhythm. When you get to the point of no return, it's like there's a black hole and you get to its event horizon, the point where you just get sucked into that bitch. It's like when you're in the whirlpool and you get to the point where it just pulls you in and you're dead. It's the point of no return, and this can happen to human beings when those neural pathways are just so used to following a particular pathway, and it just keeps getting ingrained until it's like a valley, until it's like a really deep valley and there's nothing you can do. Every single stimulus is going to initiate that type of thinking pattern. That's what happens to people, and you don't want that to happen to you. You don't want to be a drifter, and sure as hell don't want that to be automated to a point where you can't change your life. You're now just a victim of everything. For some of you, it might be too late. You might be feeling like that, but I'm going to give you some tools. Now, I've consulted and helped hundreds of students, hundreds of men change their lives. And one of the strategies that I always go back to is this idea or this concept of the king eats first. You are the king. You eat first. You might have other obligations. You might have school. You might have work. You might have to paint someone's house. You might have to do all this stuff. But your number one priority should be yourself and taking charge of your mission, knowing where you're going, being able to reflect and see if you are happy with how life is going, developing new skills, getting in tune with your spirituality, meditation, journaling, yoga, that type of thing. And the best time to do this for most men is in the morning. Do this first, because there's two benefits. If you do this first, your willpower is at its highest in the morning, right? Before this whole ego depletion thing happens, before you start getting tired. So you can knock out those big, high value tasks. You can dedicate that time to yourself. The other benefit is it boosts your self-esteem because you're prioritizing yourself. The first thing you do in the day is working on your mission. It doesn't matter if you work for 8 hours after that. It doesn't matter if you're driving a truck for 12 hours. It doesn't matter if you're doing whatever, studying. I've been there myself. Take that time out for yourself, and slowly but surely you start proving to yourself that you are not a drifter when you start seeing the results of your labor, right? When you start seeing things working out, maybe your body changing from those early morning workouts, or you're learning a new skill. You've been practicing JavaScript or Python, and now you've programmed your first basic app. You start seeing these things happen, and then you start believing that you can take charge of your life. And once you start believing, you're halfway there. Everything starts off in the mind, and then it gets realized in the outer world, right? Some people call it the law of attraction. I don't know what you call it, but this is how it works. You have to believe it yourself first, right? By doing these small actions, and then it will start happening, start manifesting. And this is what happened to me. I used to be a drifter. I used to have no aim, used to be part of the system, have no idea what the hell life was about, and just was studying random stuff and taking on random jobs and eating random food. I didn't have a definite purpose, but now I do. As you can clearly see, life has been getting better and better. The more clear I've been getting with my vision, the more consistent I've been, the more I've been eating. The king eats first, getting bigger. Do this, man, and I promise you will be one step closer to living and dying well. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell notifications so we can see more of each other. Until next time.